Hi everyone, I'm Greg, the community lead for Plastic Free Chesterfield, and it's really great for you to join us on this webinar all about tackling the issues around plastic bags. And I'm sure you'll agree it's a really important issue that everyone needs to be talking about, so it's a really interesting kind of session. So Plastic Free Chesterfield, we've been hosting a number of webinars for the last year and a bit now on a number of subjects, and you can find them all on our YouTube channel. Where we record these, and there's going to be, we've had all sorts of speakers join us, from Friends of the Earth to Greenpeace, Surface to Good Sewage and City to Sea. Lots of really great speakers, and do make sure you check out all the other recordings. And we're now kind of at the stage where we're sort of going to be starting to move away from the online webinars, but we'll sort of reflect on things moving forward. But we do have a really great Plastic Free Festival coming up on the 8th of August. So hope everyone can get along and come along to that and actually come and see us in person and enjoy that. Enjoy that again. So that'd be really great. So I'm now going to pass on to Liz from Planet Patrol, and Liz is going to explain all about who she is and what Planet Patrol is all about. And so you can find out all about it. And I hope everyone can join in this really great, important discussion about plastic bags. I think it's a really important issue that we would need to kind of look at. It's something that's really topical at the minute, especially with the plastic bag price increase that we've seen recently. So it definitely is an issue that is in businesses' minds at the minute, all about plastic bags. And I think it's a really great time to go to kind of start having these discussions around some of the issues around this. And let's open up the conversation, and we can have these questions and discussion after this conversation about, let's just see what everyone thinks and see how we can move forwards around this really important issue. So
perfect. Thanks so much, Greg. Thanks for having me. I'll just quickly share my screen. I've got a bit of a presentation. Oops, let's go back to the start. Sorry, 1 second. Wrong slide. Here we go. Perfect. Yeah, so as Greg said, I'm Liz, and I'm the Programs Manager at Planet Patrol. So today I'll be talking for probably 20 to 30 minutes about Planet Patrol and our newest campaign, the Big Bag Ban. So Planet Patrol is an award-winning nonprofit, and the mission is to eradicate litter and single-use materials, whilst also reconnecting people with nature. So it's all about empowering individuals to make a positive, measurable impact on the environment and create lasting change. So this evening, I'll be sharing more about Planet Patrol and our new campaign, the Big Bag Ban. So this is calling for an outright ban on plastic bags, including the so-called bags for life. And latest available figures are showing that 2.1 billion plastic bags were sold in 2019. And these are the latest available figures, and it's likely to be a lot more in 2020 and 2021 due to the COVID pandemic and people's fears around contamination and the big increase in online deliveries. So just based on that figure, that's 6 million bags every single day. The current UK government legislation to try and reduce plastic bag waste is the 10p charge on plastic bags, and that increased from 5p to 10p in April this year. And the UK government have said that this is really successful, but what they failed to talk about is the skyrocketing sales of bags for life, which are the thicker plastic bags being sold by supermarkets, and these contain more plastic. And there are also quite a lot of loopholes in the policy, which I'll be talking about. So earlier this year, Planet Patrol sent an open letter to the Environment Secretary, George Eustace, asking for an outright ban on plastic bags. And this letter received cross-parliamentary support and backing from lots of public figures, campaigners who want to see urgent action. So this included people like Hugh Whittingstall, Bonnie Wright, Thandie Wayne-Newton, Julia Bradford, Natalie Fee, and lots of other people as well. So today I'll be sharing more about this very nuanced issue and what we're doing about it and how you guys can get involved as well. So firstly, I thought it'd be good just to give a bit of background to Planet Patrol and how it started, and because this kind of led to the campaign at the moment. So it all started in 2016 really as a one-woman mission to tackle litter, specifically plastic pollution in inland waterways of the UK, where 80% of ocean plastic comes from. So our founder, Lizzie Carr, paddleboarded 400 miles around the UK's waterways using adventure as a vehicle to raise awareness and talk about litter that she was seeing everywhere. So on this 400 miles of rivers and canals, she took photos of every single piece of litter that she saw and plotted this in a big interactive map to show people the extent of the problem, and used the hashtag Plastic Patrol to document her journey with people. So during and after this challenge, Lizzie got a huge number of messages from people saying that they really wanted to get involved and contribute, but they didn't really know what they could do or have the tools to help in the way that they wanted. So Planet Patrol was founded as a way to bring all of these people together all over the world to work together. So initially, Planet Patrol was Lizzie hiring a van and a load of paddleboards, and she would tour the UK on weekends, teaching people to paddleboard, and in return, they would log this litter in our app, which we would call their nature tags. So we also knew that it was critical to not just litter pick. We can't just pick it up. We also knew that we needed to gather data on what we were finding to understand the problem. So we developed an app called the Planet Patrol app, and that's free to download, can be used anywhere in the world, and that's to allow people to track litter as evidence wherever they are. So you simply take a photo and you tag the types, the brands, the amounts, and this then generates a big bank of data of information on exactly what is polluting nature and where that's happening. So it's a really simple action. All you need is a phone, and it allows people to come together collectively to gather information on this enormous scale, which is called crowdsourcing. So Planet Patrol really is all about people power, and actions on the individual level building up to generate this system-wide change. So how did this movement grow from one person to the global movement that we are now? So now we work with a big network of reps and community guardians and individuals using our app wherever they are. So we have reps across the world. They run litter picks combined with activities, things like paddleboarding, yoga, parkour, canoeing, cycling. So the aims to kind of get people active outdoors, notice nature around them, and witness the problem firsthand. And we kind of see that once people get outside and they're seeing this issue, for example, plastic bags in birds' nests, glass bottles and crisp packets, in the bottom of canals and things, it's really hard to ignore and not want to do something about it. And it kind of, people are shocked by the amount that we find, and it sparks this fire inside them to say, okay, now I want to do something about this issue. So we're kind of using these activities and adventure to encourage more people to get involved, and people kind of outside of the environmental space to talk to different people. We've also got community guardians up and down the country, and these are volunteers that run litter picks and engage their communities, so sharing their knowledge and passion with other people. So, if you're interested in doing any volunteering, do check out our website, and there's lots of different ways to get involved on there. So in the past few years, we've run thousands of cleanups. I think over 25,000 people have got involved, and the app's been used in 85 countries, collecting information on over 350,000 pieces of litter. So, never doubt the power of one simple action of taking a photo of litter. If lots of people do it, it all adds up. And what do we do with this data? So we work with the University of Nottingham and the University of Glasgow in the UK to analyse all of this data that's gathered through the app to gain insights into the top polluting brands, the problem products, and the hotspot areas. So through this litter tracking app, it's providing real-time data on exactly what products and where they're being littered. And this is backed up by photographic evidence, so it's real proof of the problem. Because at the moment, there is actually good data on like the production and purchasing stages of products, and also what people are putting in their general waste bins, what's going into recycling. But what is missing is what happens kind of beyond the bin once products don't follow these intended disposal pathways and end up polluting. So that's the role that the Planet Patrol app fills, is filling this data gap and giving that data and insight so we can inform government, brands, researchers, local authorities to develop evidence-based solutions, as well as informing Planet Patrol's campaigns, which I'll come on to. So kind of a secondary part of this as well is creating transparency and accountability as we're publicly reporting the data. So, we know exactly which brands are, we know exactly which areas. So it then encourages the brands, but also local authorities in charge of these areas to take responsibility. There's a well-known saying, you can't measure. So that's what the app's doing. We're trying to measure this problem so we can then improve it and develop solutions. So we release annual litter reports, which shares the finding of our app users across the UK. And what we found is that plastic bags are consistently in the top 10 types of litter being recorded by our users. And this has led to our most recent campaign, the Big Bag Ban. So we started off with this data, we did a lot more digging, and we uncovered a lot more about plastic bags. It was a very complex problem. So Big Bag Ban. In brief, we're calling for an outright ban on plastic bags, and this includes the single-use thinner plastic bags and also the thicker bags for life. And we're also asking for more accurate reporting on the success of the plastic bag charge. So the numbers of plastic bags and bags for life being sold and how the money from those bags is being used. So why do we want to do this? So I've already talked about our data. We know that plastic bag litter is a problem. And the 5p, now 10p bag charge, the point of that policy was to reduce plastic bag waste, and that included litter. But we're not seeing that happening. So this policy is currently ineffective. Secondly, because it's litter, it's dangerous to wildlife. I'm sure most of you have seen kind of turtles mistaking plastic bags as jellyfish. I saw a news article recently of a farmer who loads of his cows got really ill and several of them died because they'd eaten plastic bags. And also, not just in the UK, but globally, plastic bag litter from the UK often gets shipped to other countries. There was an article recently, I think it was a Greenpeace investigation in Turkey, where it was illegally dumped waste, and they could identify 5 supermarkets in the UK on the plastic bags there. So kind of this plastic bag litter, it's not just impacting the UK, it's impacting things globally. And in global locations, it can have a much more detrimental impact. For example, in Kenya, who actually is a country that have banned plastic bags, the reason they banned it is because plastic bags that were littered would collect water. That water would become stagnant, attract mosquitoes who would use it as a breeding ground, and it was spreading malaria. So there's a human health hazard there as well as detriment to wildlife. And hopefully it won't happen, but there are predictions of in the UK and malaria carrying mosquitoes, rangers being able to be in the UK. So you never know, that could be an issue for us in the future. And the third reason is the carbon impact and the resource use required for plastic bags and the link to carbon emissions and obviously climate change. So the 5p, now 10p charge did reduce sales of the thinner single-use plastic bags. But actually what we've seen is as those sales have fallen, bag for life, which are thicker, have increased. And obviously they're more plastic intensive, they're more carbon intensive, which is obviously a problem. Kind of looking a bit more closely into bags for life. As I mentioned, those have increased. So one supermarket saw an almost 10-fold increase in bag for life sales from 2018 to 2019. So that was from 3.5 million to 34 million plastic bags for life even. And kind of on a household level, an average person brought home 57 bags for life in 2019 alone. And that was a 65% increase from 2017. And kind of the statistics around the amount of plastic, on average, they contain 3 times as much plastic as the thinner versions and require as much as 4 times as much carbon to produce. But they're still marketed as an eco-friendly option to customers, seeing the reuse branding on there, the green ones here from M&S. So that is kind of misleading consumers. So, we've literally got billions of plastic bags in circulation right now. Everybody from 1 year had 57 bags for life at home. We've got enough in the system to keep on using forever. So what we need to see is reuse. We need to see closed loop strategies, changing behaviours, and seeing that led from government and supermarkets instead of these levies, which are still continuing to pump out more plastic bags and keeping even more in circulation. So let's talk a bit more about this 10p plastic bag charge, and has it made a difference? Will it make a difference? So I suspect that what we'll see is that government will continue to report a decline in single-use plastic bag sales, but what we'll see simultaneously is the number of bags for life which contain more plastic increasing. So what we need to see is them reporting on both to see the true scale of this. And also now all retailers, this includes small shops, have to charge for plastic bags. Prior to this, if you were a small business of less than 250 employees, you didn't have to charge, so you could just give out plastic bags for free. So this levy will probably have an impact on reducing the amount of plastic bags, the thinner ones from these supermarkets, which the true figures of weren't really available before. But we also have to question whether we'll see the same pattern that we saw in bigger supermarkets, from the single-use ones to the thicker bags for life. And the other side of things as well is 10p enough? Like, is this gonna put you off buying something? And actually, a lot of supermarkets no longer sell these 5p, 10p bags. They only have bags for life. So people already have an expectation to pay more than 10p for a bag. And people are kind of using these bags for life as a direct swap for the single-use plastic bags, even though they're kind of a reusable alternative, or said to be. So yeah, 7 of the 10 of the UK's top supermarkets have stopped selling these 5p bags in store. So people have to buy bags for life anyway, is the only option. So yeah, essentially we're seeing a big increase in bags for life. I think one of them has reported a 2,740% increase in bags for life sales over the 4-year levy period. So that's kind of showing that people aren't deterred by a charge. They're still going to buy these bags. So what difference is this 10p charge going to make? And this brings me on to the next one, which is kind of a lack of transparency and a lack of access to data on plastic bags, which means it's really difficult to develop solutions based on this data. So we don't really know how well they work because we don't have the data to base these upon. So one of the demands of the big bag ban, as well as a ban, is transparent reporting from retailers. And so 4 of the top 10 retailers, when I talk about the top 10, I'm talking about kind of like the Sainsbury's, Tesco, Morrisons, Asda, the big supermarkets. Only 4 of them have been transparent over the past 4 years in the number of bags for life sold. And some of them have only reported that for certain years and omitted others. So that's 6 of these 10 which haven't said anything about how many bags for life that they've been sold. So we obviously, as part of this campaign, we wanted to find out this data to try and inform our strategy. So we made a Freedom of Information request to DEFRA, which is the Department of Environment and Rural Affairs, who were in charge of the 5p bag levy. So we asked for any data or information that they had on bags for life sold and how those proceeds are being spent. We did get a response from DEFRA, but what they said is that under the Regulation of Freedom of Information Act, they were exempt from providing this information. So we then went directly to the supermarkets to ask for these figures, and we had responses that essentially said it's commercially sensitive information. We don't really want to share it with you. And for me, if people aren't willing to share information, there's something fishy going on. There's something that's hiding, or maybe they're not even tracking these numbers. It's either or. So it's quite clear this 5p charge isn't really being as effective as reports claim. It's not really achieving its purpose in reducing plastic bags if we're thinking about bags for life as well. And it's not really encouraging reuse because people are using these reusable bags for life in a single-use manner. So what we want to do is we want to see retailers publishing all of this data so we can really build up a full picture and start to tackle this issue to understand the full extent of the problem. Next, let's talk about some of the loopholes and millions of pounds being diverted from charities. So 10p bag charge, so that supermarkets are expected to donate the profits from this 10p bag charge to good causes, and they have to report this to government annually, but this doesn't apply for bags for life. It's only this levy charge. So major supermarkets including Aldi, Lidl, Waitrose, John Lewis, Iceland and Co-op told The Telegraph, who did an investigative piece for us as part of this campaign, that they don't pass the profits from their bags for life sales onto good causes, to kind of just show that that was happening. And government figures show that the amount donated from the single-use 10p, 5p bag levy have fallen by more than half from 65.4 million in 2016 to 17 to 22.9 million in 2018 to 19. So that's due to that shift from single-use plastic bags to bags for life. So not only are we seeing more plastic bags being sold in the form of bags for life, we're also seeing less money going to charities that were going to tackle the issue of plastic waste in the first place. It's also a bit misleading to consumers. So we did some surveying as part of this to ask people where they thought the money from where they bought a plastic bag was going. A lot of them thought that it was going to good causes. Obviously, with Bags for Life, that's not the case. So we'd like to see more transparency around that as well. So let's talk about supermarkets and what they're actually doing. We are seeing some supermarkets taking positive, good action around this ahead of government policy. And often when businesses take action ahead of government policy, that indicates that this policy isn't doing enough, that the government need to step up and do that a bit more. So the Co-op announced in April that they would stop selling Bags for Life. And their reason for this was that because it wasn't a bag for life. People were using it in a single-use manner. So for them, it didn't make sense from an environmental perspective to keep on doing this. Similarly, Morrison's is phasing out their plastic Bags for Life. But what they're doing is using paper bags with higher charge, and they want to encourage them to reuse them. And I mean, maybe in the discussion we can talk a bit about plastic bags, paper bags, tote bags, those kinds of things. But Morrison's did some interesting life cycle analyses on paper bags specifically for their supply chain, because normally paper bags in life cycle analyses come up as being worse for the environment than plastic bags, but kind of for Morrison's supply chain, it was different. And also John Lewis is trialing removal of bags from certain stores, I think to gather more information on consumer response to this. So that'll be interesting to see the results of. So yeah, essentially retailers are clearly aware that this charge isn't working. They're exploring new mechanisms to reduce the impact of bags, carrier bags for shopping. And the hope on this is that it will prompt other supermarkets and retailers to review the environmental impact of their carrier bag offering and implement changes. And this will also push government to relook at, how effective is a levy really? If supermarkets aren't even selling bags that are relevant to this levy, maybe we should be having another policy. So yeah, it's good to see businesses acting ahead of this policy, but really we need government to keep up. Thought on compostables, because there's lots of kind of different opinions around this out there. And we get asked about this a lot, like, is a compostable plastic bag a good thing? So for example, Co-op, they have replaced their Bags for Life with home compostable plastic bags for people that want them. So there's a difference between this home compostable and industrial compostable. And home compostable bags, they can break down in your compost bin at home. But industrial compostable bags, or any compostable product for that matter, they have to go to a specific industrial composting facility that has specific conditions, certain temperatures, oxygen levels, sunlight levels. And there are limited amounts of those in the UK. I think there's 2 or 3. So that is not a large scale solution. We can't replace all plastic bags with industrially compostable bags just because we don't have the infrastructure. So if they're going to do that, they need to be home compostable. Obviously, we want to see reuse. We want to see closed loop solutions, not producing new materials. But as an interim measure, as people change behaviours, I think this is probably the best bet for now, whilst we transition. So in summary, we want to see government start proceedings for an outright ban. We want to introduce full transparent reporting from all retailers and government on the sales of all bags, as well as a breakdown on how those proceeds are being used. And introducing this policy, we think will provide a more accurate overview of the levy's current impact and demonstrate the need for like a reduction first approach rather than continuing to use bags. Obviously, this is a year of lots of environmental action. We've got COP26, there's lots of things going on. This is government's chance to take a leading stance on something. And I think there's 40 countries in the world which have already introduced bans on plastic bags. We've seen Croatia do it last week. Why can't the UK as well? So how can you help? We've got a petition on our website calling for all of those things which I've just talked about. So please do go to our website. It's planetpatrol.co/big bag ban. add your name, and please do share that amongst your network and community as well to spread the word. You can also contact your MP. So we've got lots of handy templates on our website. You can do that on Twitter, email, you can even arrange a virtual meeting. So we've got all of our contact details available there. And public pressure and constituent demands really do have influence MP action. And plastic waste is a hot topic for them at the moment. So it's likely that you'll see some responses from that. We'd also recommend you to tweet and email your supermarkets, likewise with MPs. Customer pressure is a huge influence. That was one of the reasons that Morrison's switched from their plastic bags to paper bags, was because of this consumer pressure. So you really do have power here. So on our website, we've got lots of template messages that you can tweet, email, direct message on social media, supermarkets. So, use your power as a consumer here. If you guys are on social media, or you have people that are on social media, do take our social media challenge. This is to try and encourage behavioural change towards reuse. So, we all got a part to play. Government do, supermarkets do, but also consumers in being responsible with what we have. So with those 57 bags you've got at home, do reuse them. So what we're doing is we're calling it Bag Yourself a Keeper, and essentially take a picture with your favourite reusable bag. Could be an old rucksack, could be like a trolley that you have, whatever you have at home. Take a picture, direct people to the petition and the Bag Ban webpage, and tag more people to do the same. And finally, I just wanted to talk a bit more broadly about how you can get involved in Planet Patrol more widely. So firstly, I've talked about our app. Please do download it if you have a phone, or encourage other people to do so. And essentially, if you see litter outside, just take a picture and tag brands and the types of litter. And this can be really influential. We're having lots of conversations at the moment with DEFRA, big brands, about using that data to inform strategies. And it also feeds into a lot of university research at the University of Plymouth, Nottingham and Glasgow. So kind of as a citizen, you can impact these high-level projects. And then we've got lots of cleanups going on. So we've got on-foot cleanups. We also have the activity ones. So the paddleboarding, yoga, cycling, and it's all over the UK. So if it's near you, or if you're going on a staycation somewhere, do have a look to see if there's a cleanup happening near there. We've also got regional Facebook groups. So do join the one for your area, and our community guardians will post regularly about litter picks happening in the area, or kind of local campaigns as well, and top tips. You can also organise your own if you wanted to join our community guardian programme. So we've got around 50 volunteers at the moment who are organising local litter picks and working with local hospitality businesses to help them reduce waste. So we provide you with training and litter picking equipment, and we also meet regularly online to share top tips and discuss environmental issues. I think in the activism space, it's really important to have a community and a support network around you. So this is a really good way to meet some really cool people and share ideas and thoughts, as well as kind of doing direct events as well. And we also have long-term volunteering opportunities. So this is, any age is allowed. We have a lot of people who are looking to moving into the environmental sector to build up skills. So for example, myself, I actually started off as a volunteer for Planet Patrol for, I think around 3 or 4 years whilst I was at university, and then out of university, and then gradually was doing more and more work, and we got extra money coming in so I could start full time. And likewise, the same for my other colleague, Lucy. And we have other volunteers that have gone on to work for the Carbon Trust, and I think one is an environmental advisor for an international development company. So it's a really good way to build up skills. So we kind of work together to identify your strengths, your skills you want to improve, and work on kind of co-creation of projects together. If you have kids or no kids, we've got lots of resources on our website, lots of kind of interactive activities, videos, direct campaigning things that they can do, or practical tips. So do check that out. And then finally, kind of just amplifying campaigns and messages. Don't underestimate the power of a social media post. I've had people that have followed me for years, and I didn't think they were watching me at all, but actually they've got in touch to say, what are your tips? How can I help? I'm really interested to learn more about this. So people are watching even if you don't know. So yeah, please do share campaigns, whether it's Planet Patrol or anybody else, to help amplify their work. Yeah, thank you so much, guys. And I think we're going to open up to a Q&A and discussion around plastic bags, and then I guess anything in general that you want to know about Planet Patrol. I've also put our social media channels here. We're at On Planet Patrol on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and also TikTok. And also happy to connect on LinkedIn, or you can email me if you have any questions afterwards or would like to get involved more. So yeah, thank you so much.
Brilliant. That's fantastic. Yeah, if you that's it. Yeah, that's great. Brilliant. Oh, that's really great. Thank you so much, Liz. That was really good, and really good to hear. There's just, I mean, I always love just hearing from any organization really who's kind of tackling plastic pollution, and I love that. Yeah, I always love discovering, you know, there's always so many great organizations working to tackle plastic pollution, and am I right in thinking that there is almost like a kind of coalition of organizations who are working together, you know, because there is a lot of organizations working together on this, isn't there? Like, you know, City to Sea and Surfers Against Sewage and Friends of the Earth and Planet Patrol. You know, that, you know, I'm assuming there's some kind of dialogue happening between each of the.
Yeah, there is. I think we're obviously all working towards similar aims. We all talk to slightly different audiences and go about the problem in a slightly different way, which is really good because it means that we're reaching very different parts of the population. For example, Planet Patrol generally at our events is quite a young demographic, whereas someone like Keep Britain Tidy generally has an older demographic. So we're all talking to different people, but on the high level things, for example, the open letter that we sent to government, that was signed by City to Sea, Hubbub, Ocean Generation, Everyday Plastic, various other organizations. So yeah, we do collaborate on these high level things, and meet quite regularly just to share updates on what we're doing and where the crossovers are. So yeah, it's really great there's so many people out there doing it.
Because I mean, you know, like, I mean, the way that I got in, like, you know, I was when I was looking for kind of my next project to kind of get involved in the volunteering, I just stumbled across Service Against Sewage as a way of, you know, that was my inroad into kind of like campaigning on plastic pollution, and that to me kind of really resonated really well, and I really loved the kind of been able to kind of work together in our local community to tackle plastic pollution. But I also really love what Surfers Against Sewage encourage, which is around the brand audits and the return to offender schemes, which I think are really great. And it's, you know, it's kind of for anyone who doesn't know the you know, the brand audits and the return to offender, it's just as Liz was saying about taking a picture of the, you know, of the litter that you find and you're out and about, and then recording it down. But what I always loved about, like, you know, I always loved the idea of a kind of like the return to offender kind of campaign, where it was about, you know, you're out and about, you take a picture of your litter, and you kind of then you're tweeting at the brands that you come across, and it, you know, and I always thought that's a great thing, because if people all over the country just did that, then, you know, it makes such a huge impact. You know, if thousands of people kind of tweeted at Cadbury's or Walkers or something saying, you know, clean up your act and stuff like that, you know, you just think of the amount of pressure that you're putting on these big brands
yeah, it definitely has an impact. I know KFC recently have set up a specific email inbox for litter inquiries because they're getting so much of this stuff. So they know it's an issue and they're scrambling hard to put strategies in place. And I think that's happened a lot, especially with fast fashion brands recently, where people have been flooding kind of comments on Instagram posts demanding to see, you know, how they pay their workers and that kind of thing. And that really has influenced change. So yeah, things like that, where you're putting the pressure on the brand, really does help. I think for Planet Patrol, obviously that's the data in our app can do that. But we see ourselves less as kind of naming and shaming, and they know that's an issue. It's more this data now can help to develop a strategy to reduce it. So they know they've got to solve it, but they've no idea how. So this data hopefully can help them reduce that impact. Definitely. As well as putting the accountability there, because we can see if it's changing over time and if it's working.
Yeah, and that's why, like, you know, obviously we've again, for anyone who doesn't know, there's the Break Free from Plastic Coalition, which is a worldwide coalition of organisations and all working to tackle plastic pollution. And you know, and what's great is that Break Free from Plastic encourages organisations to carry out a brand audit, and you know, if you think, imagine all over the world people going out and about and recording down all the brands that they find coming, you know, litter they find on their streets and parks and open spaces. And it's just, I just love the idea of a brand audit to kind of collect that worldwide data of like, who are the big brands and things. And then, you know, we are, you know, and we're seeing, you know, now we're seeing kind of Coca-Cola come out, and Coca-Cola and Nestle and Pepsi are all kind of coming out as sort of the three sort of the top, the big brands who are kind of the worst offenders. And you know, I guess it kind of frustrates me in a sense when kind of Coca-Cola sort of say, well, it's not our fault that we're not the plastic producer, we're not the polluters, it's the public, and it's because the public, all of our Coca-Cola bottles are 100% recyclable, and therefore it's not us as Coca-Cola that's the problem, it's the public who are chucking the litter on the streets. That's the problem. And that, you know, and I think
there's a policy coming in, you probably know about it, extended producer responsibility in the UK, that's coming in. Well, it was supposed to be coming in 2023. It's probably now looking like it's being pushed down the line a lot further, but that would essentially mean that Coca-Cola, they will have to pay for the cost of managing their waste, so that includes the recycling, landfill, and also cleanup of litter. So that kind of dialogue around it's the litterer's fault, it's the public's fault, will get shifted, because they will be responsible for cleaning, for the costs of that. And I think there is a lot of blaming the public on this, but it's this whole system of lack of infrastructure, of, you know, a lot of the litter we find isn't people littering, it's overflowing bins, stuff's got caught in the wind, it spreads loads, and that then, you know, goes everywhere. There obviously are people that litter, but I think a lot of the litter is not directly from litterers. So we need to also see a massive overhaul of the UK waste infrastructure and kind of how we're managing that. But obviously then we go back further down the line to the source, which is the production and the mass marketing of overconsumption and that kind of lifestyle. So yeah, it's a whole systemic shift that's needed. I think something like the big bag ban, it's calling for something quite hard, like a complete ban. But what that does is it makes people really listen, and they start to think of sort of interim measures that they can do. And so it'll be a long process to get to that ban, but in the meantime, we'll probably see smaller steps to get there.
Yeah, definitely. No, it's really good. And if anyone would like to ask a question at all, just type in the chat, you know, like put a Q or something in the chat or something like that. And let me know that you
there actually are quite a few in there already.
Yeah, Cliff, do you want to unmute and come and say what you'd like to say? If you want to unmute.
Oh, I think you might be on mute.
Yeah, it's a typical Zoom thing, isn't it?
I could read out your question.
Right, okay. Hi, Liz. I thought your presentation was great.
Oh, thank you very much.
Good content and well presented. Now, you mentioned possible issue with change from plastic bags to paper bags. And is that because of the plastic content of recycled paper and cardboard?
I wouldn't say the plastic content of paper. I'd say the issue was more around every material having an environmental impact. So something like paper, it's obviously cutting down trees. There's a lot of water use needed in the process to produce these paper bags. And like how many times can they actually be reused for? So I think with every material you're thinking about, whether it's a compostable bag, a plastic bag, a paper bag, a cotton tote bag, they've all got some kind of environmental impact. And depending on the exact supply chain, you know, where let's say paper, let's say where the forest is, how that forest has been managed, you know, how biodiverse is that forest, how is it being transported, is it in the same country, is it going from Nordic countries to the UK, and then kind of actually the factory itself, how is that factory run, what sort of energy, how much water is it using, what's the process. There's a lot of different factors that impact it, and these products could be made in quite different ways. So when you get an end product of 2 paper bags, they actually could have quite different environmental impacts. And likewise with a cotton tote bag or even a plastic bag. So it's quite difficult to compare and have like a blanket approach of saying, yes, paper bags are better, yes, plastic bags are better. So we want to be really careful and not just switching from plastic bags to another single-use material, and instead focusing on this reuse and this like closed loop solutions. So I mean, one idea we had was in supermarkets, like how they have food banks where people drop off food for people to take, having like a bag drop. Whereas if people forget their bag, they can just take one from there and they can bring it back another time, or a deposit system, something like that. Like Planet Patrol doesn't have all the answers, but what we want to do is facilitate that conversation with supermarkets to start to think about, okay, how can we, if people, the main reason we've talked to supermarkets that they say that people buy bags is because they forget them. So that's the thing that they need to have some kind of solution for in store, which means they don't have to buy a new one. So I guess back to your question, it's difficult to know the exact environmental impact of a specific type. So always where possible, really read up on it, and reuse wherever possible.
Yeah, thank you, Liz. Just one other point. Gosh, I take myself back 7 decades to when I was a kid. We didn't have Coca-Cola bottles. We didn't have plastic bottles of water. We didn't have, well, the only takeaway we had was fish and chips, and that came in paper anyway. My goodness me. And in this intervening time, we've had all these new materials for containers, and they are so cheap. In the old days, the containers that were used for pop and for any drinks were expensive containers. They were glass, and of course we had the deposit on bottles and so on. So maybe we need to do something about trying to force on this possibility of getting deposits back again for containers. They do it in many other countries. I know in Canada, where my daughter lives, Cheapers, the containers that people throw away very much fund the hobos that wander around with supermarket trolleys, picking them all up and making a good bit of money from the returns. Good stuff.
Yeah, I think definitely. And I think in the UK, they are planning a deposit return system. I think it's, again, was supposed to come in 2023 and has been pushed back. But they're still finalising exactly what products will be in that scheme. I think it will definitely be plastic bottles and drinks cans. I mean, what we're calling for is expanding that to much more products, and for it to happen more quickly. But yeah, definitely, I think we can learn a lot from the past. And why did we get rid of that scheme? I don't know. But like you said, there's lots of successful schemes in, for example, Germany, Canada, Denmark, that are using deposit return systems, and that's managed to really, really reduce both the amount that people are using and the amount that they're recycling, but also reducing the amount of litter. It's a really good point.
Yeah, and I submitted a response on behalf of Plastic Free Chesterfield to the DEFRA consultation on the deposit return scheme. And I know Greenpeace are heavily working on this campaign at the minute as well. And so we're just waiting to hear back, their response. Obviously, the government will be collating all the responses from this consultation, and they should be sort of deciding on what happens next, really.
There's been a lot of environmental delays to policy recently. We've seen various. Last year, actually, I didn't mention the presentation, but they actually paused the 5p bag levy because of basically supermarket deliveries. Lots of it was online, and not wanting people to touch the old crates that they would use and give them back to the driver. Instead, they just gave out plastic bags. So I was living with my grandma for a bit, and I mean, my plastic footprint just absolutely soared, and there was nothing that you could do about it because that's what we had to do to get our food. So, it is what it is. But that was like a rollback in environmental policies. And we saw lots of things like coffee cups, disposable coffee cups. Lots of places still not accepting reusable cups, which is my absolute biggest frustration. Even though there's, lots of letters been sent by scientists to say, reusables are safe. So yeah, I think there's been a lot of pauses to progress that were made, but that's slowly coming back now. People can't really use COVID as an excuse anymore.
Yeah, we're creating a refill revolution. We've got our own branded we've got our own
nice
Chesterfield Crooked Spire branded coffee cup. So yeah,
I like the drawing.
Yeah, so we're gonna hopefully try and roll this out, and and hopefully try and create a refill revolution in Chesterfield, so that shops and things, we can sell these reusable cups, and people can get people can get money off if they bring in a reusable cup.
Yeah, we've recently launched a program for the hospitality sector, actually, with a big guide of every single-use item we could think of, and alternatives and ways that they can talk to consumers about it, and different products they can be using, or how to implement a reusable system. So I'll send that to you afterwards, because that might be quite useful.
Definitely. I just wanted to flag up because I actually wrote to our MP, Toby, our Chesterfield MP is Toby Perkins.
Yeah.
And I wrote to him about this because I wanted to write to him in advance of this session, so that I could
see what his response was. Did he respond?
So I'll read you his response. He says, your letter is an interesting one because the plastic bag ban is taken to be a huge public policy success, and your questions raise an interesting alternative viewpoint. Whilst I understand your passion for ensuring that plastics are tackled, we need to be careful not to undermine environmentally inclined law changes. The plastic bag charge was one of the few examples of this government taking meaningful action on plastics. And if they also get a kicking when we do that, we will only make winning environmental law changes more difficult.
So, I don't think he understood the letter then, did he?
Yeah, so I think he's sort of saying, oh well, because the government's now put this 10p, we've now got the 10p charge. You say, well, and now we're calling for a ban. It's like we're asking too much. We're gonna,
you have to chip away. You have to ask these things. The more people do it, the more they'll start to see that actually this is action that's needed. And I think they have reported, like he said, the successes of this bag charge. But that, like we said, is talking about a specific type of bag, and it's failing to account for this big increase in another type of bag, which actually means there's more plastic being used. So there's like an unintended consequence, really, like that they didn't know that would happen when they started the policy, but it has. So they need to look at adapting this.
Yeah, definitely. And he's gone on to say, in the event that all plastic bags, including bags for life, are banned, what do you propose happens in the event that a shopper fails to arrive at a shop with a bag? And it's coming back to what you were saying about, it's these solutions that are really difficult. Because it's not just you were saying, it's not just supermarkets that are giving out bags, is it? It's corner shops, it's chip shops, it's takeaways, it's any kind of business really, and selling anything on in our local areas. And so it's a huge, I suppose what he's probably saying is that what if people forget their bags, then what do they do?
And I think that that's is what we need to find out. And Planet Patrol, we know that there's an issue of plastic bag litter. We know that there's lots of material usage going on. We don't have all the solutions, but we're creating this campaign to spark the conversation, to get people talking about it, to create that innovation, which will then develop the solutions that we need. Unless we talk about it, then it will never happen. So that's kind of, we're reaching and talking out to a lot of supermarkets at the moment to look at new solutions. It's obviously just a work in progress, but probably be a long period of campaigning to get there.
I mean, obviously, like we in terms of Surface Against Sewage and plastic-free communities, we will get a business will become that a business will get accredited as becoming a plastic-free champion business if they are if they are making a swap away from plastic bags to paper bags. And that is Surface Against Sewage say that is they say that's is counted as a swap away, and therefore that business is moving away from single-use plastic and bio-based, switching to a paper bag.
I guess they are moving away from plastics, but they are moving to another single-use material, which I think the conversation is we changed the name of our organisation from Plastic Patrol to Planet Patrol last year, essentially because of that issue of seeing everybody switching from plastics to another material without really thinking of the unintended consequences. And also because it's not just plastic pollution. At our cleanups, we actually this year found more metal drinks cans than plastic bottles as litter. So it's not just plastics that are the issue, it's all kinds of materials. And so we thought it was necessary to change our name to Planet Patrol to not accidentally mislead people and not to demonize one material and promote other ones which are still single use. So I think that's probably like an interesting conversation to have.
Yeah, definitely.
Sewage about.
We're yeah, I mean, we've got our plastic free festival in a couple of weeks, and we're going to be working with the council. The council, but got a number of tote bags produced to promote people going into the town. So they called it sort of Love Chesterfield tote bags and things, and they're just, they're nicely branded and things. So I've been talking to the council to say, like, rather than the businesses giving out paper bags on the store, on the plastic free marketplace where the people are going to come and shop plastic free products on this marketplace. I was thinking, well, if we can kind of encourage, the tote bags and obviously,
I mean, the best for me, what I do is I would put on the ticket.
Yeah, I did. I have
bring your own bag. Yeah.
It does.
Oh, nice.
Bring your own bag. But for the people who don't have their own bags, with them, who maybe people who are just stumbling across the market, and don't have a bag, then we will have these tote reusable bags. So hopefully, people, I think especially when it's a tote bag as well, people don't treat it in the same way as a paper bag. They tend to think, oh, well, it's a tote bag. They want, they're more likely to reuse the paper bag. So that's the idea. So
yeah, good.
Yeah, so it is really challenging. But anyway, Toby Perkins he does say
yeah,
that,
I'd love. Could you forward me that email afterwards?
Yeah,
I'd love to read it properly.
He does say
to untangle it a bit more.
The last message he says is encouraging fewer people in Chesterfield to use any kind of plastic bags and live more sustainable lives, and it is an incredibly admirable goal. So yeah, he sympathises with us, and yeah, he says the actions of Plastic Free Chesterfield are really important, and so he's crediting us and saying that we're doing good work.
Hold on to that line when you need him to do something.
Yeah, and he will be writing to the Environment Secretary George Eustace as a result of this letter.
Oh really?
So that's a good positive thing.
Oh good. So you totally turned it around from him saying it wasn't needed to I'm actually going to write to George Eustace. Well done.
Yeah. So so that's the next stage. I think after this we'll probably do a joint letter from the Plastic Free Chesterfield Committee to all the supermarkets as well to try and but imagine if all the plastic free groups all over the country wrote to their supermarkets and things and mentioned about this, and it's really important. So that's why I quite like to get this recording out to all the different plastic free groups all over the country, really, because there's over 700 plastic free community groups all over the country. So we can make a big difference.
Yeah,
and
please do share.
And it's really important that just because plastic free community groups are part of Surfers Against Sewage, we should all be getting involved in all the other campaigns and everything as well. So
yeah, we have lots of our, for example, paddleboarding reps. So they are a Surfers Against Sewage rep, they're a marine conservation rep, they're a Planet Patrol rep. You can do all of these things, and that's really great that you do that. So we definitely promote that.
Yeah, definitely. So I just had a quick question about, do you think that there is an opportunity because I was quite surprised that I didn't realise this, the Bags for Life, the money that's being charged for Bags for Life doesn't go to these charities like this kind of thing. Do you feel, I can kind of almost feel like that's more of a winnable goal right now, where because if we've got some stats on the numbers of it sounds like it's challenging to kind of get those stats on the Bags for Life, but if we can get stuff like that, then I think that's where we can kind of try and put pressure on to say,
yeah, definitely. I think
least that money from the Bags for Life can go to the charities and contribute that way.
I think one of the challenges is the fact that these businesses get this money as profit, and for them it's a business case to have plastic bags. So for them not having them, it removes a revenue stream, which they might need to replace. So yeah, I think the diverting it to charities makes them look good. They don't have as revenue, but it potentially makes them look good. So that is definitely another way of looking at it. I think some of them, I think it's Tesco, their Bags for Help scheme does go towards an internal organisation that they have. And I think another organisation, potentially Aldi, goes towards their plastic reduction schemes to fund that internally. So some of it is going to good places, but it's not all supermarkets. So yeah, good point. See if you can get your local supermarket to respond to that.
Definitely, yeah. No, it'd be really interesting, and I think there's a lot of learning to be had on all of this kind of stuff, and I think I personally love the idea of like a deposit return scheme kind of thing, and you can kind of I just love the idea of if deposit return scheme can work with bags as well. Then that'd just be great. And I think and I also agree on your point as well about the 10p charge for a plastic bag just isn't enough. I just think people aren't like you said, people aren't deterred by the 10p charge. 5p to 10p. I mean 10p, it's nothing, is it? And I think
nothing is 10p anymore. I can't think of a single product which is just 10p.
Yeah, so 10p really is not enough. So I think there's a lot more that we can be doing that at least there to sort of say again in the interim, to say increase that price up again. 10p is just not enough. Make it up to at least £1 or something like that.
I think there's been a study where there's a tipping point where that charge does become something people think about, and I think it's around the 70p mark where people started to think more about it. But again, if they've forgotten their bag, they're still gonna do that. But I think these are all studies where we need to.
You think, well, if they've forgotten their bag once, then you think, well, if they then have to pay 70p as a result of it, then it's more of an incentive to think, oh, actually, it's more of an incentive to remember that. It's the same with the coffee cups and stuff as well, because it's that's the thing. If they're only paying 5 or 10p more for a disposable one, it's nothing, is it? But if the price becomes so unviable for them, they're going to be thinking, hang on, I'm trying to save money here. I really should be remembering to bring my coffee wherever I go.
Yeah, a lot comes down to price points. I think there's a lot of like polls and surveys out there at the moment which are showing that people really want to behave sustainably. They're saying, oh yeah, 70% of people will change their behaviors, but when they actually look at people's behaviors, there's a massive difference, and it's a lot less people that are actually acting in the ways that they say they would like to. And so there's kind of desire there, but they haven't created a habit yet, and they need some kind of extra push motivation to create that habit change. And one of the things that can be done is on a price point or something that's enforced, like a ban, where like everyone having to wear face masks. Nobody wanted to do that, but they had to. Like, they couldn't go shopping without it. So it was enforced and everyone started to do it. That's how it works with other things as well. Like microbeads in cosmetics or the other things that have been banned recently. They just have to think of another solution, and it forces that change.
Yeah, definitely. And I think because I've spoken to a couple of our plastic-free champion businesses, and they offer like a discount if you bring your own reusable coffee cup. And they said, they said to me, like, to be honest, we just haven't had much take up on it at all. And and this is the thing, and I think it is because of that thing, because it's that price point thing. They're saying, well, because the single-use disposable cup isn't.
There's actually some interesting studies on that as well, where it's people, if you charge people for the cup, like you say, oh, the coffee is £2, to have it in a disposable cup, that's £2.50. That actually makes more people bring their reusable cup than saying, if you bring your reusable cup, we'll give you a 15% discount. Telling them they've got to pay for that extra cup with their coffee puts people off. So maybe try that approach with them, or trial it anyway, see what happens.
Just it should be one of those things as like just like with the bag. So like when you go to order a hot drink, they the person behind the counter says, oh, if you want a disposable coffee cup, it's going to be another 50p. Just like the plastic bag. Well, if you want a plastic bag, it's going to be 10p. So if it's just kind of like getting that word out, isn't it? To say actually, oh, if you want a disposable version, it is going to be that extra 50p. Then people are like, oh, I didn't know, or then it's kind of trying to people away.
So asking if you want an extra condiment on a sandwich or something, like, oh, that's 50p, and you're like, do I actually want that? Do I want that coffee cup?
Yeah, I hope we can kind of get there, but I think this is it. We just try and do our bit, and I am also hopeful as well as about the plastic packaging tax that's coming in April next year, and that's obviously going to be a charge for businesses to pay for using materials that are anything less than 30% recycled plastic. And so that could really start.
Yeah, definitely. The big issue there they have is the lack of recycled content because the infrastructure is not good enough. So what these companies are now trying to do is fund these schemes, like the one in Co-op, for example, is that's been funded. Well, it's with Co-op, but it's also a lot of people like Cadbury's, etc., behind the scenes that have worked together as a coalition because they need to get more recycled content to be able to put that in their packaging. So it's good because it's facilitated trialing to get better recycling infrastructure, but what we need is like overhaul of the whole UK infrastructure, really. But that should help businesses to pressure government to do that, because otherwise they're going to be paying more money.
Yeah, no, that's great. Does anyone else have any other questions? We're kind of coming up to the end of the session now, but I think I don't know if anyone. I don't know. Shirley, do you have anything to say?
Yes, I'm like Cliff. I'm from the old school when we had bottles and things like that. But I have been into supermarkets and thought, oh dear, I haven't got a bag. So I just raked around for a box, cardboard box. Sometimes I've taken stuff out and put it on the shelf and just got the little bit of cardboard that they were in to use. I never buy a bag.
Yeah. We need more people like you. Show them the way, but it's leading by example. If somebody else sees you do that, they'll be like, that's really clever. I might do that. Or I do the jumper trick where I fold my jumper up and carry all my stuff in there.
I refuse to buy any plastic bag. So, and also when we lived in Gloucester, there was one big supermarket, Tesco, that had a can. You returned a can, they counted the can, and then they gave you a voucher. If you get 10 cans, I think it was 20p a can or something, you got a voucher to spend in the store. So there are some supermarkets who have got this sort of deposit scheme. And for kids, you could say, oh, try and find all the aluminium cans. I don't drink fizzy drinks anyway, so I didn't put anything in, but I think it's quite a good scheme. I hope they will bring it in.
Yeah, I think it'll be really good.
Yeah, and hopefully we can really push for that before 2024, because that's what one of the big asks we're pushing for, to at least get it to 2023. Same as Scotland, I think. So we're just kind of keep pushing on that, and we'll let you know how we any updates of what's happening and things, really. But can anyone's have you got as Planet Patrol got a newsletter or anything people can sign up to or anything?
Yeah, we do have a newsletter. Let me just put the link in the chat. Let's find the link that you can join.
Yeah, that's great. And if we can just get, I think there's lots of information, and I think all helps, really. It'll be really great to, when you sign a petition, can you get signed up to the mailing list that way?
Yes, you can do. I'm just showing the link to the petition there. So petition above. And there's also, you can read the open letter that we sent to George Eustace, and we've got a lot of FAQs on that site. So kind of all the questions we have about why are we not just having paper bags, or why is 10p not enough? All those kind of questions that you might have. Do have a look at the FAQs. They're probably in there. Yeah,
that's really great, and I'd love to stay in touch and find out how kind of how you get on, because I think it's really useful to be able to highlight. And I think it's a big, you've taken on a big challenge with these, but trying to take on the plastic bag, it's a huge, you feel like you're taking on a giant, you really gone on at it right on there.
Yeah, so, I mean, I think we have to take on these big challenges, and it's spreading the word. That's when it gets to the tipping point of enough people, that's when you start to see the change. I think it's what we're seeing with a lot of policies, and a lot of people care about these issues at the moment. So it's getting government to reflect that in their strategies.
Definitely. Well, thanks so much, Liz, for everything that you've for all the talk, and I think it's really interesting just to I think just to have this conversation, like just have a conversation about it and to spread the word and to get people thinking, get people talking about these kind of issues. I think it's really important, and I just love I love this. Like what I'd love to do is I'd love to go into like Chesterfield Marketplace or something, set out a load of chairs or something, and just have an open discussion on this kind of thing, and just hear from the public and things, and just set all these in every area of the country we need to kind of go into these town centres and set out some chairs and just say join me in a conversation and things, and just being able to have these to talk about these issues and things, and to kind of I think
it's so really important is the education, and it's the helping people reimagine different ways of living. I think there's a lot of emphasis on kind of like science tech solutions, but actually what we need is very creative, very education in communicating all of that to the public. That's that missing link, because we could have all of this amazing tech, all of this amazing research, but if people don't understand it, then they're not going to care and they're not going to push for that change. So that sort of discussion is so important. You should have a look at, there's a movement called the Transition Town movement. I don't know if you've heard of it. You might enjoy one of the books that they've written as well.
I mean, Plastic Free Chesterfield is part of Transition Chesterfield, and
nice.
I'm a big lover of the Transition Town movement. I think it's brilliant. I think it's great, and we need to get the word out to all the transition groups and everything as well. Just kind of start this conversation, because I think that's it. If all of the environmental or plastic free groups or transition groups, whatever, went out into the town centres, and COVID restrictions have ended now, we can go out, go and have a stall on the market or something in the marketplace somewhere, and just say, come along and have a conversation about plastic bags or something, and to see the kind of responses that you kind of get from the public and things. That'd be really interesting.
And you need that insight as well from the public, because unless you have that information, you don't know how campaigns or things are going to work in practice, because if people don't support them or they don't understand them, then they're not going to work. So it's really good to get that insight to help shape whatever communications or kind of plans you put in place for the future.
Definitely. So hopefully we'll try and we'll get all this message out far and wide, and hope that lots of people can get involved and join the conversation, and it's a really
brilliant. Well, thank you
subject.
so much for having me, and thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for everything. Thanks a lot for joining, and look forward to more conversations.
Stay in touch.
Definitely.